in the... Awesome, just what I need. Another dead, cheap bulb. Let's go. Now, this is just a theory, but here it goes. It's cheaper to buy the best first. There, I said it. It's cheaper to buy the best first. The best is usually the most expensive, so how can this be? Let's take this LED for example, but this can relate to anything really. If I head to the internet, I can find 10 of these LEDs for roughly $12. That's almost $1 a piece. They're what I call cheap LEDs. At roughly $1 a piece, the price is great, and they look cool too. An LED that looks this cool and costs only $1 has got to be a good deal, right? Well, yeah, depending. So what's the problem then? Well, and this is just my opinion and theory, the design and the build quality sometimes and a lot of times, but mostly the design. If I compare this expensive LED with the cheap one, we can see the cheap one has way more little LED diodes on the chip than the expensive one. Turning my exposure way down on the camera pretty much confirms this. We can see that inside this expensive LED, it looks like there's just 2 diodes side firing or firing horizontally, then being reflected and diffused to disperse the light all around, like a normal incandescent bulb. On the cheap LED, we have 9 to 12 diodes that are all facing directly downward, which leads to a harsher light. It's not diffused or reflected in any way. It's just direct light. And while that may be brighter, it also creates a heck of a lot of heat. A lot of heat, and really it's honestly too bright, for me anyway. So far as I can tell, the design of these expensive LEDs only use 2 diodes within, or at least 2 sources of light that fire horizontally towards each other. It is then reflected and diffused, and this leads to a more pleasing light and a lot less heat. If any of you guys are photographers out there, you'll know that diffused light is always softer and more pleasing to the eye. But all that aside, I pointed to an issue a minute ago, and that is the design. Simply the design. With a smarter design, the light can be more pleasing, more efficient, and produce less heat, thereby living longer. In my experience, heat is the Achilles heel to LEDs, and everything else for that matter. So I'm gonna replace all 3 of these dome light LEDs in my 2003 Suburban. They were all fitted with the cheap LEDs. Even though only one of them has burnt out, I wanna replace all 3 because I want them all to match, but also because this will be a really good study for me, for you guys, to know if these things really are going to last a long time, or if the same thing is going to happen, one's going to burn out in like a year or 2. So of course time will tell, but we've got some time, so let's do it. All right, I'm just going to use my key here to try to dig into this keyway and open this up. Here you can get a sense for what these bulbs do. They put off a lot of light. You can see there are tons of LEDs. Okay, let's set this one in there, just like that. And with that now set in, we can go ahead and hit the unlock button. And there she is. Nice white light that's not too bright, and hopefully will last a very long time. You can see the other bulb definitely has a much more blue look to it and is much brighter. And just in case you were wondering if these bulbs do fade out like the factory bulbs did, well, there you go. And once again, with the lens back on, looks perfect. All right, now recently I've put out 3 LED videos on this channel, all pointing to pretty much the same theory, that the cheap LEDs just don't last. While they're cool looking, while they have tons of diodes on them and are super bright and all that stuff, I mean, I haven't had an experience where they've actually lasted me and I haven't had to go out and buy new ones. And when you do that, of course, the cheapness of them doesn't get so cheap anymore because now you're doubling the price. And then if you buy them a third time, now you're tripling the price, in which case you could have just bought the best ones first. They would have been worth it. It would have been better, better design, better looking light, and they wouldn't have burnt out, hopefully anyway. Now, in one of those videos, I replaced both sets of license plate lights in both of my Suburbans. Yes, I drive two Suburbans. One's a 1995 and one's a 2003. I decided I had two sets of LEDs that I could put in there. I had a set of the expensive ones that I think were about $10 for two, so $5 a piece. And then I had a set brand new of the cheap ones, which were probably about $1 a piece. Both sets were brand new, never used or installed. Now, since then, both Suburbans have been used roughly equally. I would say that the 03 actually has been used a little more, but both have been recently on a really long road trip. I'm talking 1,200 plus miles. Both have had extensive nighttime driving with the lights on, which obviously means that those license plate bulbs or LEDs would have been lit for long periods of time, building up lots of heat. And this was a great test to test their ability to withstand this type of use, this constant on, type of use. And I have a result. Now, this may come as a shock to you, but one of the cheap LEDs has indeed burnt out. Yeah, I know. I thought they were gonna last. I really did. I thought, man, you know what? It's gonna last, at least for a long period of time. But it actually hasn't been that long. And I think the reason why is because of the long driving at night, having the LED constant on, not designed for heat whatsoever. And of course, that heat kills them. The expensive LEDs, on the other hand, on my 03 Suburban have been used a little bit more, but with the nighttime driving on this long road trip, pretty much the same there. Long period of time, constant on, heat buildup, but those ones are designed to disperse heat. There is a little heat sink in there helping them to deal with the heat. Not only that, there's less diodes in there, I think, which helps them to build less heat. So thereby, lasting longer. That's all theory. That's all just my, thinking and thought process here, but it makes sense to me. What about you? So I'm not saying this is any sort of definitive result that it's going to be this way every single time. I'm just saying it's interesting, right? So when is it okay to use these cheap LEDs? Save a little money, use the cheaper LEDs. Well, maybe in the intermittent use locations, definitely not a constant on situation, but maybe, like the dome lights and the interior door lights. You open a door and they turn on, you shut the door and they turn off. They're on intermittently, thereby building up less heat and living longer. But then again, that didn't really work out for me in this dome light, this cheap LED. So I don't know. Me personally, I'm not going to be buying the cheap LEDs ever again, ever. Just won't. I'll tell you what, I am spending a pretty penny on these LEDs. And if I start seeing these expensive LEDs going out, I'm probably just going straight back to incandescent, where I had no problems at all before, except for the light output, which was very low, and also the color of light, which I do like, but it kind of makes it seem even dimmer. And that is the problem with the incandescents, is, while they do last a long time and give you relatively no problems, they don't really put out that much light, and the light is very yellow. And that is the sole reason why I'm going down this LED road right now, trying to figure this all out. Is it worth the money? Is it worth buying the cheap stuff, the expensive stuff? Are they all the same? Are they different? So far, I'm thinking that the expensive LEDs are expensive for a reason, because they are a lot better. Do I wish they were cheaper? Absolutely. I don't think one dome LED should cost $10. I think it should be like $5. I think those really small, like door lights or map lights, should probably cost, I don't know, $2 or $3. But it's new-ish technology. What are you gonna do? There's not really much competition in the market right now. So it is what it is. Did you enjoy this video? If so, I would love for you to hit that thumbs up. It helps me, it helps the video, it helps the channel, and all that good stuff. Also, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Also, make sure you check that description below for more information and links to anything you've seen in this video. I'm Jimmy, this channel is One Road, and I will see you in the next one.